that I'll present today to give you a framework for what we can consider as necessary information and skills for teaching pronunciation. First of all, let me say a little bit about some definitions of comprehensibility, intelligibility, and accent. Are you familiar with these three terms? Yes. All right, good. So comprehensibility is a listener's perception of how easy or difficult it is to understand an individual's speech. Intelligibility is a listener's ability to understand the intended message of a speaker. And accent is a measure of the difference in phonology between two speakers' productions. So, in short, accent is the difference from the local variety. Obviously, all of us have accents, but normally we say somebody speaks accent, they speak when they speak with a different accent than what we as a listener are used to. Comprehensibility you can think of in terms of effort. How much effort does it take a listener to understand the speech of the speaker? And intelligibility is the actual understanding. How much of the speech could you listen to and write a dictation of it? So let's talk about goals of pronunciation. Let's talk about the overall goal of pronunciation in this century. The goal of pronunciation instruction for second language speakers is enhanced intelligibility and comprehensibility. So when we think about accent, as I mentioned before, all of us have an accent, and lots of times people think of people not speaking well because they have an accent. But in fact, what we should work on more is making our students more intelligible, helping them develop a kind of speech that is easy to understand, that the listeners will understand without much difficulty, and we are looking now at what kind of pronunciation framework we should work on. So I'd like to present three general areas. First of all, conceptual knowledge, the basic philosophy of pronunciation. Descriptive knowledge, the basic facts of pronunciation. And procedural knowledge, the basic skills needed to teach pronunciation. So I'll go over what the main ideas are here, and I'll give you some examples afterwards. First of all, in terms of conceptual knowledge, which is our basic philosophy of pronunciation, spoken language differs from written language. And some of us teach both writing and speaking. And we need to make sure that we see that although there are some similarities, there's a lot of differences in terms of being able to pronounce a language. Pronunciation is a physical act. It's not simply what you do in your mind, but actually, as I'm speaking, I'm using quite a bit of my body energy, right? And so when we're teaching our learners to become better at pronouncing, then we have to take into consideration the whole body and what goes on to get those thoughts from here out this way. Awareness of vowel duration in English is essential because it varies between English and, say, Thai language and other foreign languages. Awareness of vowel duration is something we need to gain in order to be able to let our listeners get hold of that. Listeners of English perceive the relative importance of information based on stress, intonation, and pauses. Learning how to listen mindfully. Mind is essential in any kind of pronunciation improvement. What are we listening for? Pronunciation can be integrated into classes for all language skills. You don't need to wait for a class called pronunciation or speaking in order to work on the pronunciation of language. So you're teaching reading and writing, vocabulary, different aspects, you're speaking, and you can be providing models and help afterwards. Some aspects of pronunciation are more important than others. So therefore, you need, as a teacher, to determine which things you have time and energy and ability to present versus things that you can leave at a lower level of importance. Pronunciation work does not disrespect the learner's first language, their home, their culture, their identity. In terms of descriptive knowledge, the basic facts of pronunciation. The smallest building block of pronunciation is the phoneme. That's a unit of sound, and its allophone, a variation of the sound. So the word is phoneme. Pronunciation consists of segmentals, that's the individual phonemes, as well as the suprasegmentals, which includes stress, intonation, rhythm, and connected speech features. Syllables and stress are the building blocks of rhythm and intonation. Thought groups, also known as tone units, are the basis of all the positive, that is the suprasegmental work. So when we're teaching pronunciation, unlike teaching languages that have tones in them, we want to consider the pitch and change over a certain phrase or a thought word. Pitch changes occur on the most important word, that is the stressed syllable in the most important, the most key word, the focus word of a thought word. Now, in terms of procedural knowledge, the basic skills that are needed to teach pronunciation, it's important for teachers to have a working familiarity with both segmental and suprasegmental features of speech. Be able to perceive intonation patterns, to hear them, to feel them, to sense them. To perceive variable vowel duration that produces rhythm in English. To teach pronunciation in connection with listening, discrimination skills, pronunciation and listening for pronunciation. And to use movement in teaching pronunciation, because as I mentioned before, pronouncing is whole body action. And using our gestures and using our movement and using our facial expressions in concert with our pronunciation is very helpful in giving the meaning to our listeners. It's important for teachers to prioritize pronunciation issues for communicative purposes. So if we're teaching a graduate school phonology class, that would be quite different than if we're working with beginners or intermediate or advanced levels of learners who have other things that they need to be able to know what's more important to help them with their English pronunciation. We need to be able to provide useful feedback through demonstration, how to do something, and explanation at the level of proficiency of our listeners. We need to integrate pronunciation into language teaching. And we need to help learners develop authenticity. In other words, not just have a theory up in their mind, but also be able to use it so that when they're speaking, those aspects which you have given them, those skills they are able to use and produce as they're speaking. And because, we cannot do everything perfectly, we have to be able to use some compensatory strategies. What if we can't pronounce something very well? What other things can we do as speakers to compensate for our lack of perfection in a particular language? How can we get our students to know what some compensatory strategies are? Now I'd like to go into a little bit greater detail about some of these areas. In terms of conceptual knowledge, which is our basic philosophy of pronunciation, spoken language differs from written language. Spoken, right? Well, just think, what are the vowels in English? A, E, I, O, and U. Yes, those are written vowels, and sometimes Y, right? How about our spoken vowels? Are they the same or different? They're different. Are they less, equal, or more? There are more spoken vowels. Now, if we're looking at or listening to spoken American vowels, we will hear, perhaps some of you are familiar with the IPA, you will know, what is the first one? E. And then I, A, O, vowels, we have to be clear about written or spoken. So if you're looking at teaching the spoken language, and you use the word vowel, it might be good to say the vowel sound as opposed to vowel, so that our students who are so used to reading text, as we are, since it's not a doc here, but learning to read it right, we have to make sure that we have a distinction, and we're including a lot more sounds when we're talking about vowels in spoken language. Now, look at this word. If we look at this word and we say, oh, stole my chocolate chip? Well, we might think something like that, thinking about very common sound spelling correspondence, but actually this is pronounced
stomach.
Stomach ache. I hope you don't have a stomach ache. Right. All right, how about this sentence? What does it say? Well, we might say it. Where did you want to go? Does that sound like a normal sentence?
No, it isn't.
Maybe not. In citation form, we would say, where did you want to go? But if we're in more relaxed speech, we would say this way. How do we say that? Where did you want to go? Where did you want to go? Where did you want to go? Right? We have a lot of connected speech. We have changes in the sounds as we link them, connect them to each other. And even more relaxed, we'll say this. Where do you want to go? So where did you want to go? Where did you want to go? Where do you want to go? Right? So those are all examples of what happens in spoken English. So learners of English need to learn some of the common patterns of reduction and linking in order to be able to understand, especially native speakers, of course speaking like one of the observers. What does this say? Anybody read that? Chicha? 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 What does that mean? Did you eat that? Did you eat that? Did you eat that? Did you eat that? So, yes, native speakers will often reduce it to such a short end. So not did, forget the did, and then the did you becomes j, and we hear g, g, did you, so a lot of you native speakers are so familiar with this, but our foreign language learners, they do not yet totally teach them about some of the common reductions. All right, I also said pronunciation is a physical act, so we got exercise. If this were a longer section, I would be up here having you do some exercises with me, but instead I'm just going to have to point you to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Pronunciation Knowledge. You will find a whole over 2,000 free videos for teaching English, so please feel comfortable using them with your students and telling your students that they can look online. One of the playlists is called Pronunciation Workout Videos, and in those videos, we do a lot. Huh? Can you do that? Can you script your girl? Yeah? Do that. Yeah, that's all your skill right there. Okay, that happens this. You want to listen. Okay. What about this? Can you stretch your tongue? Suppose you're a lizard. It's time. Stretch your tongue out, right? And then, what else can we do? We can do a lot of things. What about your lips? Okay, those and then what can you do with them? If you want to blow, you can vibrate your lip. Do I have a shy audience? Well, if we had more time to go into greater detail, and I'd just like to see what you might access if this is of interest to you. Now, let's talk about the characteristics of a stressed syllable. The stressed syllable is long, strong, clear, and generally high compared to the unstressed syllable. The vowel carries the length, clarity, and the pitch, not the consonant or the vowel. Awareness of vowel creation is essential. So let's take a look at these possible pronunciations. We could say communicate, 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 and communicate. Which would you like to hear? How do you say it?
Communicate.
Communicate. All right, so you see what happens is we stress the second syllable there, and we're making it longer. So we're saying communicate. La la, and make it higher. Communicate. Make it clear so we don't have a schwa vowel here. Where do we have a schwa vowel in this word? In the first syllable, right? So we don't say com, we say good. Good. We have a clear vowel, mu, and it's long, and it's high. It's a clear, long, and high. Communicate. And that way, it helps let the listener know what word you're saying. I'm not sure if this happens in Thai, but in English, when we have uppercase and lowercase letters, when we have letters that rise above and letters that go below, like the letter B has a and the letter P goes, right? So lots of times when we read signs from a distance, like street signs, lots of times we get the shape visually of a word, and it helps us know what that word is. There are also sound shapes. So these stress and intonation markers, this rhythm, really helps listeners understand what word is being produced. Stress syllables are long, and long vowels are easy to hear. So we have long vowels like that. If we make them long, they're easy to hear, and if we make them really short, they're hard to hear, like, what do we call that vowel? What do we call that vowel that's not easy to hear? We call that the schwa, right? So, do we want to say salamat, lemon, vanilla?
No.
That sounds so familiar, right? Don't you hear people saying that? Salamat? All right, so typical spelling, S-A-L-A-D. One of the syllables is stressed, sa, and the second syllable is okay, so salad, the second syllable is that schwa sound. And many languages don't have a schwa sound. English has many, many schwa sounds. In fact, the most common spoken vowel in English is the. So we need to help our students perceive that in comparison to the act of sound, right? So in words like lemon, we have long for and we have short for the second syllable. And for vanilla, we have two or three syllables, and two of them are schwa, so we have So using body is also important to help people understand, feel, perceive in all senses how words are long and short, high and low, and how the vowel changes. So the country north of where I live is called Canada. Oh, not really. What's it called? Canada. And below or south of Canada is America. Are there any of you here from Japan or Japan? Any people from Japan here? Or Japan, right? There's a difference. So China, second syllable B, and Mexico. So the schwa is an important sound for us to help our learners perceive and produce, because it creates the rhythm of spoken English. All right, now, how do listeners know what's important? Listeners of English perceive the relative importance of information based on stress, intonation, and pausing. So, do you know this sentence? It says, "Pandai shutandi." Pandai shutandi. No pausing, no stress. Can I say it in another way? Yes, I could say it like this. A panda eats, shoots, and leaves. I could also say, a panda eats, shoots, and leaves. Right? So perhaps some of you are familiar with the title of the book this time. And this one was, well, this is a book that's very much about punctuation in writing. But there's also this punctuation in speaking, punctuation, points where we stress something and we divide our flow of speech into segments, into thought groups, where people can listen and hear the idea without actually thinking about the words individually. But where we pause makes a difference, doesn't it? As you can see from here. So a change in stress causes a change in meaning. Can you see this? Can you hear this? What does it say? Terry gave me some flowers. What did he say?
Terry gave me some flowers.
Terry gave me some flowers.
Some flowers.
Terry gave me some flowers. Terry gave me some flowers. Are they more different implications? Yeah. Terry gave me some flowers. He didn't give me any chocolates. Shucks. Terry gave me some flowers. What is that about? He didn't give them to Marsha. Terry gave me some flowers. Donna didn't. Terry gave me some flowers. But I wish he could have been more. So when we change the word that we stress in a sentence, although it looks the same in writing, it sounds so very different in spoken language. It gives different implications. Whether these second sentences are written or not, the listener perceives something along those lines. All right, let's talk about listening and how to listen mindfully. Now, lots of times I will hear somebody say, listen to her. She's speaking. Listen to him. Okay, it's your turn. Now, you have a turn and you have a turn. Okay, your turn. Listen to her. And I think, okay, well, what are we listening for? Why are we listening? Do we have a purpose? Are we trying to listen to understand what they said so we can do a test? Are we trying to listen for certain sounds? Are we trying to listen for rhythm? Are we trying to listen to find out whether what we're saying is a fact or an opinion? What are we listening for? If you're teaching listening, then it's a good idea to tell your students what to listen for, so that they have something more specific. So, for example, you might say, listen and tell me how many syllables there are in this particular word phrase. They'll be able to say, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Listen for the stressed syllable. If I say communicate, I tell you, listen for the stressed syllable, what will you tell me? Maybe something, right? If I say, what is the stressed syllable? 1, 2, 3, or 4 of the word communicate. What do you think? The second syllable, right? If I say same or different, maybe I'll ask you, listen to words, tell me if they are the same word, or if they have the same vowel, or if they have the same stress, or if they have the same consonant sound. Right? So ask your students to listen for a particular meaning. Focus word. Listen to the sentence and tell me if you hear a focus word or not. Maybe someone talking about that has a focus word. Tell me if you hear the focus word. Then you might say, focus. Right? You listen for that. Maybe you're asking them to listen to this and say, tell me if it's voiced or voiceless. If I say ice, the last sound, voice or voiceless? Ice. Is it voice or voiceless? The last sound. Voiceless? All right. If I say eyes, voice. So again, you're listening for a particular purpose. Even rising or falling intonation. Now this is really tricky because we don't ever write down intonation on paper or on our computers, right? Intonation is a little difficult to perceive. Now some of you may be trying to learn Thai because you're not speakers of Thai. Anybody like that? Anybody having a little trouble with the tones? Up and down and low tone and high tone and even tone and stuff like that? Well, we don't have tones in English, but we do have intonation patterns. And so, as you're teaching your students, you have to help them hear, perceive whether the tone is, intonation pattern is even, or it's rising, or if it's falling. So if I say banana, 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 teamwork. And we just do the banana. Then is that even? Do I say long? Banana? Can you hear it? Is it even? Rising or falling? Banana? That's rising. Are they banana? Falling. Right. Okay, so that one's falling. So these are things that, as a teacher, you need to be aware of, and then help your students learn to hear and perceive those differences so they can put them into utterances, communicative utterances. Identify the phrases, for example, the pause, the stress, and intonation. Maybe suppose you're having the students listen to a recorded speech, and you want them to listen for how this sentence, which is this long, is broken up into phrases, and perhaps you have something written down on paper, and you can help you, okay, here, pause here, slash, and here, slash, and here, slash, so you can hear where the pausing occurs, and then once you have those thought phrases, in that phrase, this one is expressed more, longer, stronger, higher, and the other words of this one's focus. So we have patterns that go like this. So these are other tricks that you can have for your students to learn, especially long pieces. How about phonemes? For example, you want them to hear. Do you hear an or an ah? Or do you hear a s or a sh? These are some examples of what you have students listen for in order to understand, to perceive, to build up your listening discrimination. So learning how to listen mindfully is essential to any kind of pronunciation improvement. Relationship, so perception, observation, comprehension, all of this is starting with perception and observation. And listening, noticing, hearing, looking, watching, seeing, touching, noticing, feeling. Developing receptive skills also helps learners make changes in their productive skills. And it's a recursive thing. You can't just do it once. You have to do it over and over and move from something that's more controlled to something that's guided to something that's more independent. Pronunciation can be integrated into all classes. Whether you're teaching vocabulary, speaking, listening, grammar, you can integrate it into any class that you desire and that you put your mind to. Now, teachers speak, right? I suppose all of you, when you teach, you speak. Thus, teachers can provide models for students, and students can be expected to practice orally as they learn vocabulary, grammar, and so on. Some aspects of pronunciation are more important than others. For example, when we think about segmental sounds, not all of the sounds of the alphabet, spoken alphabets, phonemes, not all of them are very important, but every student at every level, beginning, intermediate, and advanced, needs to be able to get a handle on the sounds that are produced by final S and final D. Why? Because they're all English language, right? Final S's occur in cups, bowls, and dishes, nouns. Verbs, walks, plays, and watches. What else? In possessives. So, Max, Marsha's, Max's. So we have a lot of Z's and N's. With the D, ED ending, looked, tired, excited. Those are key sounds. So if you don't have enough time to do the whole set of phonemes, do work on phonemes. Is that's a form, that's the solo chunk. And the solo chunk. Is. Also, focus on the peak vowels. That means the vowel in the stressed syllable in the focus word of the phrase. So if you're looking at the word banana, banana, 3 syllables, the second syllable is the stressed one, and that sound is ah. That's a very common sound in American English, banana. So work on that particular sound to help students pronounce the peak vowel, because the peak vowel is the strongest one. That's the one that hits the listener the most and gives the listener an understanding of what that word is. Suprasegmentals are also very again, rhythm and melody are the foundation. The number of syllables in a word. That's very, very basic thing that all students should be able to hear and perceive. So when you clap each syllable as you speak, then you can hear each beat. So you can hear, I'm not repeating like this with every syllable the same way, because that comes very difficult to hear. Right? So when I clap as I speak, can you hear the emphasis on certain words and others? Sure. So one of the things to do is really feel the syllables, feel the number of syllables, be able to identify where the syllables are stronger and short. So for example, we take words like nut, syllable, apple, 2 syllables, watermelon, 4 syllables. Now this is not true in all languages. In some languages, like to add syllables where we don't have them in English. So my friend Justin just told me that his students call him Justin. Does that happen to you? Yes. Okay. So I love in Cantonese how we say "sito belly." So we say "sito belly," "ho sita ho ting," "sito belly." What is that? It's a strawberry, right? Why? Because the illegal procedure in Cantonese to have a substitute those 3 consonants. No, not possible. So we could stick some extra syllables in there. So we have to be careful when we're working with language speakers where they don't allow that. And most languages do not allow so many consonants all stacked together like that before they get a vowel, right? So it's hard to critique, and then you work on the production of it. Focus words. So if I say, I did my homework, can you hear which word I'm focusing on? I did my homework. I did my homework. Which word did I focus on? Homework. Okay. I didn't do the dishes. I didn't do the laundry, but I did my homework. So I did my homework. What does that mean? You're telling me I didn't? You think I didn't do my homework? I did my homework. I did my homework. So stressing different words has different implications, right? The primary stress of the poems. The P vowel. So I'm working on the word homework. Listen, I'm not saying homework. You want to say homework? Homework, homework, homework. So high, low, long, short. These are key things that we have without vowels and words. Okay, let's talk about accent and identity. Accent is linked to personal identity. English learners want to be understood. Everyone has an accent. You and I have an accent. You have accents. Everyone has an accent. In terms of phrasing, accent reduction is a phrase that nowadays most of us consider to be not as well received as accent addition or accent modification, because we're adding something, we're changing, modifying. Pronunciation work is not disrespect anybody's first language, their home culture, or their identity. It allows them to put on a new one. Okay, so when I speak English, I can be like this. When I speak French, I can be like that. When I speak Thai, I can put on a new outfit and be like that. Right? So we can consider it as being an addition, something you add, a different flavor. Descriptive knowledge, the basic facts of pronunciation, phonemes. Phonemes constitute the smallest unit of sound, and they consist of vowels like E, B, I, B, L, those vowels, right? They also consist of consonants such as pet versus book, bet, set, full, let, vet, and so on. Not only at the beginnings of words, but also at the ends, like a tan, tag, tap, tag, tab. Those are all different consonant sounds. Now, in English, we can have consonant sounds at the ends of our syllables, a whole bunch of them. A lot of languages don't allow that. Illegal procedure. So for our students, it might be difficult for them to produce that in certain environments. Maybe they're okay at the beginning, but it's not so easy for them to pronounce them at the end. That's what call allophones. And they have some variations, for example, with the letter T. When we say, what time is it? What time is it? We've got all these T's here. What time is it? But those T's are all pronounced a little bit differently in English. Time has a very aspirated sound. We don't release the T, the tongue from the T when we say the what. It. 10, 8. We also have the sharp one at the beginning of stressed syllables. And we have a tap, lap. In the middle, like tender, especially after ends. Tender. So these are all allophones. They belong to the same category. Phonetically, they are different. But phonemically, they belong to T. All of them, they belong to T. And these stay together. Those don't, but these stick together. So these can be continued in a big circle and say, okay, we have to pronounce them in certain ways depending on the phonological environment. I better take a flight to Toronto, Ontario, TESOL, with all those T letters. All those T sounds are different phonetically, but they are allophones, so phonetically they belong in the same category. Paper cup. Paper cup has some P's in there, but each one of those paper cup is a little bit different phonetically. Not paper cup, right? But paper cup. And so being able to hear them and also produce them in the appropriate environments is useful. More about segmentals. English spelling does not actually predict its phonemes. So, for example, the North American English, we have a lot of vowel letters, so only 5 vowel letters, but 15 not phonemes. That looks like that kind of chart, right? And teachers should be, therefore, familiar with phonetics and this to help our students. That doesn't mean we have to use them with our students, because we have to consider what level they're at in terms of their proficiency and understanding. Building blocks, we want to have segmentals, consonant vowel, suprasegmental, express rhythm and intonation, and connected speech features. We have to understand what the relationship is among things. Why focus on segmentals? Well, each language has its own inventory of segmentals, right? So we have, as I said, 14, 15 vowels for consonant sounds, and students encounter the greatest challenge when a sound's not in the native language inventory. For example, TA sound exists in English, but maybe it doesn't exist in the language that the students are looking at now. Maybe the language we're working with only has 5 to 7 vowels, but we have 14 or 15 of them. The other is the stress and syllables. So syllables and stress are the building blocks of rhythm and intonation. So we'll say ease, easy, easily, break, breaking, breakable, atom, atomic. Those are all words that have different number of syllables, and anything with more than one, that is 2 or 3 or 4 syllables, has one that is stressed, more than others. To be able to hear that and produce that are important. Syllables and phrase stress. English syllables and phrase stress give the kind of unique stress time rhythm. So we say tonight, it's like receive, let's leave, volunteer, it's dear, 17. She's the queen, dash, it's cats, profess, unless. So we want you to try to avoid saying things like, the same volunteer, 17, they have to volunteer. I need some volunteers. If I say I need a volunteer, maybe some of them will come. But if that means some volunteers, you want to go, yeah, I'll do it. Thought groups are the basis of most suprasegmental work. You know, a thought group is that short sentence, could be a clause, it could be a phrase. And each thought group has one focus word, and that focus word has a primary stress, and then it has a vowel, right? Because the stressed syllable always has a vowel, and that's the peak vowel. The peak vowel is in the middle of that primary stress, and that's the one of all the things, if you can't get the students to say the whole sentence, at least get them to say the peak vowel. It's a message, that's the word, the focus word. And that will give the listener an idea of what they're talking about. Thought groups speaking phrase by phrase. So thought groups govern meaning. If we say, John said, the boss is stupid. Or we say, John said the boss is stupid. We have the same meaning or different meaning? Totally different, right? So punctuation governs meaning in writing, like this. John said, the boss is stupid. John said the boss is stupid. So we see we have punctuation in writing. We can also see that in speaking. Okay. All right. So I come to the end of our talk period, and I would like to invite you to continue. I will be doing another presentation on pronunciation for secondary and elementary school teachers. The time will be 3:25, and I invite you to join me then today in this room, or probably in B, as well as one I'll do tomorrow. Thank you very much for being so